it's Miriam with a Y. I'm so sorry for having been away due to illness and then family visiting and then a little bit of an illness again, but I'm so happy to be back. And guess what? I've got somewhat of a plan today, an alcohol ink plan, hence the gloves. Okay, now the word plan maybe is a little strong. Let's say idea. Yeah, I have an idea to paint alcohol ink jellyfish. Does it mean it's going to work? I don't know, but let's give it a shot. I'm thinking a very simple, watery looking background for this. I'm using Kielty Inks for this painting, and I'll share the colors as I use them. I've thinned down some aqua blue and some aquamarine, and I'm spreading a layer on the reverse side of a sheet of Kirkland photo paper. Now you can do this on tile or Yupo or whatever surface makes you happy. I'm using Kielty Inks more and more because they're non-toxic and they have practically no odor, which makes them really awesome to use. With this background color down, I want to map out where I'd like to put in these jellies. Maybe 3 of them. So I'm just using a regular pencil and making very light marks for myself for just the bells or the tops of the jellyfish. I then lighten the underside of 2 of them that I will let show. And I'm just using a tiny paintbrush and some alcohol to do this. Again, it's kind of to map out the area for myself too. Next, I've pulled out ochre and orange. I'm thinning both with alcohol, and the alcohol that I'm using is 99% alcohol because I'll be using the layering solution later, and I need to use 99% when using the layering solution. With a micro brush, I begin to add the inner tentacles or arms of the jellyfish. My plan is to have them be more orange near the bells and maybe fade out to the yellow or ochre color. And why? Just because I think that could look cool, you know. So why not? Now, you know I get a little abstract with nature. I don't have like a reference photo in front of me telling me what colors the jellyfish should be. I'm just kind of going with whatever colors look kind of pretty to me at the time. Now I'm using a micro brush to give these inner arms a more textured, kind of fluffy look, because jellyfish seem to have those. A lot of them do. I'm having fun just randomly positioning these arms in sort of wavy ways and just making sure they gather up at the top. And I've decided that my jellyfish have, I don't know, 6 of these arms. Again, because, I don't know, because 6 sounds good. I don't know, maybe they're supposed to have 4 or 12. I have no idea, but I'm going with 6 because, yeah, 6. Good number. After putting all of these down, I pull out Kielty's red and thin a drop of that to use for adding a little more color and, I don't know, shading or dimension to the tops of the arms. I think that doing this gives them a little more visibility. What do you think? Once I'm happy with these, I protect them with Kielty's layering solution. Now it comes in a 50 milliliter bottle, but for convenience I use it in a much smaller 15 milliliter bottle. Since I'm just going to be coating thin tentacles, I choose to dispense the solution onto my paintbrush as I need it, rather than pouring out more than I need. Now, what this layering solution will do is prevent anything I paint later from disturbing these arms. Even if I paint with alcohol ink right over these arms or tentacles will not be reactivated. They won't bloom, bleed, they will not budge. I get asked if this solution works with other alcohol ink brands, and the answer is yes. I also get asked if there's anything else that can do the same thing that this solution does. I've never found anything. Kielty invented this amazing solution. No one else has it. By the way, that 50 milliliter bottle will last you a very, very long time. Because the solution is clear, it's often easier for me to apply it with the surface tilted up so that I can better see where I'm putting it. The light shining on it makes it really obvious. For this jellyfish, I want a smoother line up here, so I'm going to leave the tops of the arms exposed. In other words, I'm not going to put any layering solution at the very top, so that I can blend away the tops of these arms and smooth out that line when I paint in the bell. So for these bells, or tops of jellyfish, I'm going with purple and violet. Again, only because I like those colors. So my jellyfish will have purple heads, mouths, brains, all of the above. You know, I really don't know what's going on up here in a jellyfish, but whatever it is, let's make it purplish. I think you call these things bells or hoods. With some alcohol, I take away some of the blue of the water just to make a little way for the purple. I probably don't really need to do this, but what the heck. Now, while I do that, take a second to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And give this a thumbs up if you're enjoying this. Now, one of the fun things about alcohol inks is their tendency to dry with a thin, dark border along any edge of wet ink as it dries. That means that every stroke I make results in those darker borders along the periphery of the wet spot. So I'm going to use that to my advantage and let each stroke define the lines you might see on the bell of a jellyfish. I use both the purple and violet inks to keep the color from being too uniform. And I also try to have some strokes be darker than others. With the tops painted, I darkened some edges a bit more to better differentiate the bottom of the bells, especially for the two on the left, because I want to show a teeny bit of their undersides. Now, to suggest the translucency of the bells or hoods or, I don't know, heads of the jellies, I'm going to add some orange dots to the purple. My hope here is that it's going to look as if we're seeing through the bells and seeing the arms beneath the bells. Luckily, another fun aspect of alcohol ink is that it pushes previous colors out of the way, so the orange dots will stay orange and they won't blend into the purple and make a muddy color, because ordinarily that's what would happen when orange and purple come together. I think that worked out, and just to be on the safe side, I'm going to protect the bells now too. I really love having this option now when I paint. Honestly, if you order nothing else from Kielty Ink, get the layering solution. I really think it's going to enhance your work and let you do things you never could do before with alcohol inks. Now, before I put in the tentacles, I want to add a little something extra to the water. So I'm reactivating the blue ink in my palette and I'm thinning it quite a bit with some alcohol. And then with my micro brush, I start adding bubbles. At first they just go white when the alcohol first hits the surface, but I pick up more blue ink and give them back some color. I make little clusters of bubbles and I vary the sizes of the bubbles in each cluster. I think they look better and more fun that way. Once I'm happy with them, it's time to tackle the tentacles. Now, I could do these with a small paintbrush, but I'm going to make life extra easy and I'm going to use 2 alcohol ink markers. Now, you can use any brand for this. I'm using 2 violet-based Copic markers, or Copic if you're across the pond, but you can use Spectrum Noirs if you have them, or really, I mean, even Sharpies can do this. With the lighter of the 2, I'm putting in the furthest tentacles, the ones that would be on the far side of the jellyfish. And then I use the darker color to put in the more foreground tentacles. And I've chosen a marker a few shades darker than the light one for a specific reason. I want to kind of try something. I'm going to run the lighter marker along the dark lines and allow it to blend with the dark color as I make my stroke. Now, this is not going to harm my lighter marker in any way. The dark ink will only stay on the tip of the marker and it will get discharged as I draw with the marker in blank areas. So my goal here is to have the tentacles have like a two-tone kind of quality. Now remember, since the orange and yellow arms are protected with layering solution, I can take my micro brush and just dampen it with 99% alcohol. It's got to be 99. If it's 91 or lower, it will eat through the solution. But 99% can wipe away anything on top of the solution without disturbing the solution. So I can wipe away any light tentacles that I painted over the orange arms. And I think that doing this is going to enhance the illusion that they're in the distance, so on the far side. So the layering solution is not disturbed, and you see that it also wasn't bothered by the Copic marker strokes I passed over either. And because of the solution, I'm also able to safely add a bit more of a dark edge to this spell without disturbing anything beneath the seal of the solution, the layering solution. I am really liking how this is turning out. But I think it could use just a few more tiny touches. Now, I was at Joann the other day and I saw this Posca pen that I've never seen before. Apparently it's a brush pen and I've never tried it, so I thought, let's try it together. So the instructions say, the pictured instructions, that you shake it and then you push down on the end. So I think this seems like this little cap comes off here. Gonna move this aside just in case this oozes, you never know. And then you push down. So I'm kind of expecting to see paint come down into the brush. I am not seeing that yet. Oh, wait. Oh, there you go. And yep, a drop fell. Huh. I want to see what it's like before I commit to putting it on my painting. Well, let's see. I want to see about giving these guys some highlights. Huh. Okay. It does behave a lot like a paintbrush because the ends do splay apart like a paintbrush, but it's like a paintbrush that you don't have to load because it's just full of paint. And if I want to get a really tiny, tiny line, I can use just the tip. And if I press harder, I can get a thicker line. That's pretty cool. As opposed to most paint pens that have a fixed line. This one I can vary depending on how hard I press. I kind of like that. So if I want to add some highlights to the bubbles, oh, that's pretty cool. I like that quite a lot. This is pretty neat. This is a very practical little brush because I find that using Posca pens on photo paper or even Yupo is a little tricky. Like the pens just kind of don't seem to want to work well. But this guy works really nicely. So I may use this more often because a lot of times with alcohol ink, getting highlights is tricky. So sometimes resorting to acrylic paint is the way to go to get sort of like little white bright spots after the fact. Or you can always wipe off ink, but that can sometimes not work because it can bloom. And so this guy is pretty practical so far anyway. So we'll see. I'll use this more often and see how that goes. And then the cap just goes back on to keep it from being accidentally depressed because depressing the end loads paint to the tip. That's pretty cool. All right. With this done, let's take a close-up view of everything. I think the addition of the bubbles adds a fun touch. And the white highlights brings a little extra life to this too. Do you agree? What colors would you use to make your jellyfish? I can kind of picture these in lots of color combinations, or maybe as full-out rainbow jellyfish. Let me know in the comments, and tell me what other creatures you'd like to see me try next. Also, do you prefer fully abstract pieces or more representational paintings like this one? Thank you for hanging out with me and for checking the description box for ways to help the channel continue, like by using my Amazon links whenever you can to get you to the site. Let your creative natures shine. Here are a couple other fun videos to check out. See you soon. Bye now.